A group of Democratic attorneys general is condemning the president's immigration and travel crackdown. The AGs from 15 states and Washington, D.C. promised to, quote, use all of the tools of our offices to fight this unconstitutional order and preserve our nation's national security and core values. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is one of those vowing to fight. Good morning.
Morning.
Do you believe this will ultimately reach the Supreme Court?
Probably some portions of it. But we were as my colleagues and I stated, we are all in agreement that portions of this executive order are unconstitutional and ultimately will be struck down. We are very concerned about people who will be hurt between now and that ultimate ruling.
What is unconstitutional?
Well, all four courts have ruled on it so far, only issuing temporary stays, but recognizing that there's a likelihood of success on the merits of claims that the provision to stop all entries from people from 7 countries that were arbitrarily identified violates their rights to due process and equal protection. Other provisions of the executive order raise questions under the Establishment Clause, which prevents you from discriminating based on religion, and there's problems with a federal statute that explicitly was passed to stop the government from excluding people just based on national origin. So it's got a host of constitutional infirmities, but while we were working our way through the courts, my colleagues and I have committed to trying to protect the people who are going to be hurt in the meantime.
That's the point. So what power do you have to do something to help them?
Yeah.
What is it specifically?
We are, first of all, making efforts to find out who's being detained. One of the big problems that the lawyers who are trying to represent the detainees have is they don't know exactly who's being detained. We also are concerned that the federal orders that have been issued by 4 federal district judges are not necessarily being complied with. So we're taking actions to ensure that the orders are complied with. We're trying to identify them. We want to know, for me, I want to know if there are any New Yorkers being detained. I want to know, we know at least one person who is a graduate student on their way to one of our state university campuses was detained. Are there more of those? So at least for the 16 attorneys general representing more than 130 million American people, we have come out very strongly saying we believe this is unconstitutional and we're going to do everything we can do to protect the people caught up in the crossfire while this poorly conceived order works its way through the courts.
You requested the list of the people being detained at JFK. Have you gotten that list, and what exactly will you do with it?
Well, we want to make sure that, first of all, everyone has to have the right to a lawyer, but it's hard for lawyers to try and make an application to get someone out if they don't know what the name of the person is. Mm-hmm. So that's a threshold question. The opaque nature of the process is really not called for necessarily in the order. So we have 2 separate issues. The executive order itself is objectionable. We think there are many provisions that are unconstitutional, but the way it was rolled out with no notice, no instruction to the people who actually are on duty at the airports lead us to conclude, and the evidence and the anecdotal evidence leads us to conclude, it's being applied inconsistently, and there's no transparency to the process. We don't know who's being detained.
How are they being detained, and where are they being detained?
They're being detained at airports all around the country. The challenge, Charlie, is we do not know. The White House put out a statement of numbers. We have no reason to believe that statement is accurate. The Homeland Security reversed itself yesterday, saying don't detain green card holders. So there's chaos out there right now.
Yeah, and how significant is it that attorney generals from 16 different states, Mr. Schneiderman, have gotten together to speak out on this?
In my mind, this is unprecedented, but this is a statement by the state attorney general. Look, we have a federalist system, and if the federal government is not going to give you the real facts, they're going to stick with alternate facts. Those of us at the state level have to step into that breach, protect the people we represent, and present the truth to the American people.
President Trump, in an interview, suggested that he may favor Christians over Muslims from those 7 states. He said exactly this: if you were a Muslim, you could come in, but if you were a Christian, it was almost impossible. I thought it was very, very unfair, so we're going to help them. Does that invite some additional challenges to this?
Correct. That is directly in violation of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. You can't favor one religion over another. That is one of the bedrock principles of the United States of America. And for him to say that in such a cavalier way is a reflection of a total disregard for the Constitution and the rule of law. And that's what I think is upsetting so many people. This is not a matter of liberal versus conservative. This is a matter of those of us who believe in the rule of law.
Is that expressed anywhere other than in an interview that he did with the Christian Broadcasting Network?
It's been repeated by other people in the Trump administration, other advisors and supporters of his.
Saying that only Christians are being given favorable treatment.
Well, no, and the executive order explicitly refers to religious minorities within the countries at issue. So these part of the world he's talking about, the religious minorities, are Christians. So it's not too hard to connect the dots there, connect what's in the order to the statements they've made on television. It's pretty clear this is an order that seeks to favor Christians over Muslims.
Yeah, but they're saying it's not a religious ban, that this is clearly about safety. How do you see this?
This makes us less safe. There's no question in my mind that anyone involved in law enforcement, anyone involved in international security considers this an order that makes us less safe, that will result in retaliation. There's already been a heinous hate crime committed after this, provoking a conflict with 1.6 billion Muslims, most of whom are law-abiding. The overwhelming majority of whom are law-abiding people just seeking to go about their lives. They're our allies. They're our friends. We have almost 1,000 NYPD officers who are Muslims. Picking a fight with an entire religion is anti-American, counterproductive, and makes us less safe.
All right, Attorney General Schneiderman, thank you very much for joining us this morning.